Hello, hello, world, hello, world. We are coming out of our beds and into your cameras, and we are welcoming you to a sick concert. Yay! Hello, hello, and welcome. We're so glad. If there's anyone beyond this camera, that's wonderful. And if not, we're just so glad we're here. We made it and we made the right choice. When does that ever happen? It's raining outside. Out of our beds. Oh yeah, there's a feedback loop, so I will hear myself 1 second after you hear me or before. But what is time and what is space? Nobody knows. So I am so happy to be here with you. My name is Una, and I am your spoon C. And recording is in progress, we know. And we have an incredible show for you. We've been planning this show for our whole lives. And we're so happy that this moment has arrived, because together we are, and it wouldn't be us if it weren't in the internet, because that is where we are in the moment. So this is what we're doing, and we're really so grateful you're here. We have an amazing show for you. Can you see my costume? Yes. So I have the bed with me. I have the space blankets, and for warmth, and spoons for energy, and we have an amazing lineup. I'm going to be your MC for the evening, spoon C, and you'll hear more spoons. Coming up. But first, I would like to bring to the stage one of my favorite spoonies in the world, someone who has literally gotten me, one of the main people who've gotten me through this pandemic, and we're still in it. And that is what we're here today to share, is that it never ends. But this show will end at a certain point, but so let me bring our first guest to the stage. I'm so grateful that this person is here. A birth doula, on her way to being a death doula, grief worker, healer, visionary, amazing, amazing person. Please welcome to the stage, Belen. Thank you. I love you. Here.
I love you more.
I'm sorry.
You might have to just hang out. Yeah, you might just have to hang out with me. Hello, everybody. Here and out there. I'm Belen. Thank you, Una, for the amazing intro. Our spoonsy, our fierce spoonsy. I am so happy and so excited that we're actually pulling this off after many, many challenges. But here we are. So today, I get to have the immense honor of having a very lovely conversation with one of my favorite spoonies. We're just sharing all our favorite spoonies with you all today. So I'm having a conversation about disability justice. Are you okay, my friend? Amazing. Okay, back to you all out there and on the live stream and such. So today I'm having a conversation about disability justice with my wonderful spoonie sib, an essayist and cultural strategist, amongst many other things that were not listed in this short bio. Their second book, More Than Organs, From Sibling Rivalry Press 2020 received a 2021 Stonewall Honor Book Award by the American Library Association and a 2021 Lambda Literary Award finalist. If you have not already, you should check it out. They have received fellowships from McDowell as the 2020 James Baldwin Fellow, Vana Voices, Macondo, and the Lambda Literary Review. They have served on boards, panels, and committees for the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, the Leeway Foundation, the Disability Justice Collective, the Trans Justice Funding Project, Transgender Law Center, and on the advisory committee for Crip Camp documentary on Netflix. They've been featured at the UN, the Lincoln Center, Symphony Space, Brooklyn Museum, Princeton, Columbia, Yale, Manchester Pride this past summer, Where International, Sesame Street, and more. Their contributions are found in the New York Times, Al Jazeera, Nylon, Vogue, Bitch Media, Academy of American Poets, Color Lines, Asian American Literary Review, The Advocate, The Rumpus, Them, Disability Arts, and Frontier Poetry. Currently, they remix their mama's recipes and live in New Jersey with their jowly dog, Biggie, who is also my favorite. For more info, we will post their socials and website. And are we ready to have Kay join us? Hooray. Who are y'all? Bragging about your friends is kind of amazing. It leaves me breathless. Hey, Kay. Can you hear me, Kay?
I can hear you. Hello.
Here you are. Yay.
Hey.
Hi, Kay. How are you feeling?
I am so low to medium spoons, but glory to it being Saturday. It's Saturday, right?
Yes, it is Saturday. Although we just said what is time and what is space anyway.
Yeah, I'm vigorously hand gesturing.
Gesture away, my friend, gesture away. Just so you know, I'm not going to see your gesturing because I'm just staring into a sea of beautiful faces here. And I'm imagining you sitting in your space. Is Biggie around? Is Biggie going to make an appearance?
He just might, but he's snoring right now, like in the back. So we'll see.
Yeah. Okay. So Kay and I have never had a formal public conversation before, so pardon us if we slip into a little bit of chit chat. Essentially, I'm just going to ask you some questions. You're going to drop some knowledge. You good? You good to go on that?
Yeah, friend. This is literally what we do every day. So
every day, all day. So here we are as a group of long haulers, new spoonies, old spoonies, and everyone else out there that loves and supports us as allies. We want to talk today about what happens when sickness takes residence in the body. Okay, take it away.
Well, I mean, I need to be transparent that I wasn't born physically disabled, that I grew into my sickness. And so for me to be present when, I think we had this conversation where it's like, what happens when people say, you'll get better, you'll get better, you'll get better. You pray hard enough, you take the smoothie, you take turmeric, you howl at the moon, at all your homeland languages, you do all the things. And like, what is better? Who gets to dictate what better is? So I think when we're talking about like when sickness takes residence, it's really about realizing that your vessel, right, your body mind has changed, is in a transition. I don't know if other people can relate, and I can only juxtapose it with this. When I was newly disabled, was that I was so blessed to have mentors because I was in a panic mode. And, what became a couple months became a year, became 3, became permanent, right? And I was in the workers' comp system. So for me, I think about taking residence with sickness and spooniness, it's about getting what you all are doing collectively and realizing too that residence, you're not alone, right? We are in a deeper culture of sick and disabled spoonies who have paved a way. My former colleague and love, Stacy Milburn Park, discussed talking about how there need to be sick, crip, disabled, spoonie doulas, right? And that was a lot of their work in community, was ushering and sharing and skill building, because the medical industrial complex, white supremacy, US empire want us to think that we're alone, right? It's just like, we're told, I think oftentimes in American white spaces, it's like, you don't talk to your neighbors, it's dangerous, blah, blah, blah. But when you're sick, you're in a network already, right? So welcome. and many things that you're encountering may or may not be you. And in many cases, you can build that resonance with others who are doing it together.
Right.
And so riding with that pain too, right? Like you and I know we send sick texts all the time. Like we create a system, we've created a code. Sometimes some of my friends and I just speak in emoji or numbers or inside jokes. Sometimes we just send messages in sound, right?
Right.
So that resonance, I think, is about becoming versatile, not just in our body minds, but how we have to relearn the world. We're relearning the world.
Yeah, especially in this time with pandemic being what it has been thus far. I think very few people are able to hold in their consciousness that this has been and is continuing to be a mass disabling event. We don't talk about long haul as a disability. It is not even acknowledged as a sickness of any kind, whether it's interim, whether it's coming through, whether it's staying, nobody knows. So we're in this proverbial wilderness, this wide open space where so many people are waking up to the possibility that this just might hang out for a bit, or this just might be how it's going to be. And it will change, but to what? We don't know. And so when we talk about being long haulers, being new to the spoonie space, being maybe new to disability justice, I think it's important to bring in disability justice lineage. We have forebears, we have people that have done incredible, immense, important to stand in any amount of dignity as sick people. So thank you for mentioning Stacy. So I know you talked a little bit about how you arrived into your spoonie journey, and maybe say a little bit more, share a bit more if you are willing, in terms of the sort of political awakening around spooneyhood and some different ways of thinking about sickness that have aided in your journey so far.
I feel like my spoonie coming out, and I don't like the word coming out, but my like, oh shit, this is who I am. Like, this is in my bones. This is who I am. I started as a very abled organizer. I worked in the not-for-profit. I worked in racial justice, gender justice, and there was a breaking up I had with New York City and in general with what queer socialization was, right? What racial justice looked like, but really just what having friends looked like. When I can only juxtapose this because there's still ableism in the world. When I realized my queerness and then my transness, I lost friends because we just didn't have common language. And so I think with sickness and disability, there's this happening that occurs where your body memory remembers, for me, as somebody not born physically disabled, remembers what having abled privilege is like. And so there's a grieving, right? There's this texture of grief. You're dealing with the unknown, specifically with long haulers, right? There's a massive disabling event of COVID. And we can make certain rare or distant juxtapositions. I know people oftentimes who have Lyme disease, right, constantly feel erased by the medical industrial complex, right? Assurance doesn't cover them. When we talk about, the spur of the AIDS and HIV epidemic and those living with AIDS, right? Earlier on, there's just also this fear and isolation that happens in the US empire. And it's this level of scale and nuance. You feel the state abandoning you, right? You feel your own friends and family abandoning you. And you feel yourself abandoning you, because the truth is, you are you are changing in a, like, you're a chrysalis. Something's changing, full mind, body, spirit. And for me, I broke up with ideas of what masculinity was. Like, I was like this trans man, going to the gym, super fit, bah, bah, bah. You know, like, I broke up with what a 9 to 5 was.
Yeah.
I had a not-for-profit big gay job, you know, and I had to realize, I was like, wow, I can't do this any longer. And what happens when you can no longer do those things? That question is like, am I valuable?
Yeah.
And I was so fortunate to have people like Patty Byrne from Sins Invalid, Eli Clare, Leroy Moore, right? At that time, Leah and I were both writing, and Leah a little bit more than me. I was reading Mia Mingus and Stacey Milburn Park. So I was like hungry. I was like, I didn't know. I was so privileged. I didn't know a lot of queer sick people. And I was really fortunate that people like Jelani Fontaine, right, from Third Root, was like, okay. You know, Jay Toole was like, okay, little guy. And you know me, when I first came out gay, I was like, rainbow, rainbow, pop, 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 pop. And I did that shit with being sick too. And they're like, okay, little envy, nah. There are people before you, nah? And here's a learning time and a grieving time.
Yeah. That grief piece is what really, it's been so pivotal and so important for me personally to come into. I mean, I've been a spoonie for the better half of the last decade, and with this round of new spooniness coming through, it really took a lot to sit with so much that I just held on to for all those years. The loss that we feel, which is disenfranchised. Nobody acknowledges our loss as something legitimate. We don't have mourning rights. We don't have ritual. We have no place to publicly claim our grief, but we create it right here today. So we can spend a lot of time talking about how powerful and vital grief is. We don't often think about grief as something that's generative. You know, our dominant culture relegates it to this one thing. Here you are, a bereaved person that has experienced the death or loss of some biofam in the most heteronormative sense of the word. And you get to have your grief acknowledged. Here we are as spoonies, as people living and surviving in pandemic. What do we call what we experience and what we feel and what we carry, and what moves through us, whether we acknowledge it or hold it or not? Because grief is an unstoppable force of, I don't want to call it nature, but if you exist, you will experience loss and you will experience grief. And in doing so, when you learn to work with your grief, when you learn to carry it with some competency, with some skill, it is a generative force. It is a fire that will push you forward. And that is what I call the gift of the time we're in, the experiences that we're having in our bodies and our minds and our spirits. And I was wondering, Kay, if you can share a bit more about the grief and gift of new spooneyhood.
First of all, that is my friend. Look at my sibling talking it up, chatting that. Give her
Stop.
family real hotness there. So that's lesson number one, is that spoonies affirm each other when the state doesn't. When the empire demoralizes you, I think ushering into spooneyhood, there are multiple avenues happening. Like, I think what's important when we think about spoons as a unit is that it's about multitasking so much, right? I'm advocating with myself, with my parents, with my loved ones, with my partner, at my job, maybe not getting a job, advocating to my landlord, to the medical industrial complex, to the specialists, to the 500 specialists, to Medicaid. And I think new spooneyhood, I think there's something we have to say that's like, wow, it's generative and beautiful. And also, I also want to push back on that resilience talk. Like, sometimes, right, it's just shitty. It's just shitty. And sometimes you miss your older self, you know, like, that's just it. And it's not on you though. it's the state and the way, honestly, institutions build spaces that make it inaccessible. So what do we do to not, when we're looking at models of disability, there's the medical model, the pity and savior model, right? Like there's whole language for what we're all experiencing. Just some of us don't know it because we haven't been in disabled, sick, SDQ culture, right? So now we're all learning a new language. It's really like, wow, I've been in SDQ for 15 years, maybe, it happened right before my Saturn returns, and what a Saturn return it was. And I just needed somebody to hold space for me. And I needed to know that I wasn't alone. And I also needed to know that it's okay to not be an expert. I think I grew up I was forcibly raised as a cis woman of color in a very poor economic background. So I was told I had to bootstrap and work hard enough. And, that's what kills migrant, communities, women, BIPOC, non-binary people, the global majority. And I had to undo all that shit. I had to essentially decolonize.
Right.
And so much is, I know it sounds terrible, but you witness these connections, like, oh, that white supremacist thing is connected to ableism. Or how many trans people do we see who are masculine, who are disabled? Very few. Right. Why is that? Right? Like, oh, how many blind and deaf people are integrated into some of our queer and radical discourse? Yeah. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. People are, the deaf community is doing their own fucking thing, have been in liberation movements, right?
Right.
Those of us who are autists or who are hearing, we have our own ableism with that. So you're just gonna, as a new spoonie, you're gonna confront a lot of conflicts outside of you, within you, and just be as graceful and as tender as you're learning as you can. Like, especially when I'm thinking about y'all, we've had this conversation with long COVID, like the scale of US empire and abandonment, the scale of devastation. So many people are facing long COVID or currently living with COVID who we're just gonna be sick, And that level of grief around that, and how some people don't have the privilege, but when some people realize, like, yo, I'm gay, or oh my God, I thought we were all equal, but I'm a woman, or just all these terrible juxtapositions. But there's this moment where you're like, I am different. I can no longer turn back. We can perform ableness. I'm a cane user, a part-time wheelchair user, but from what I know and the way I see my people being treated and the lineage I understand of sick and disabled, queer and trans people, I would never turn my back on them, right? There's this, it's not about getting better. And I want painlessness for everyone, But I also am now in a culture where I realize we're not getting the care we need. Yeah. And so that's the thing. What do you do with that?
The getting better question is one that we're all going to be contending with and thinking through for a long time to come. And as we try and close out this wonderful and rich, never-ending conversation we've been in for years now, beloved Kay, I want you to think about what it is that you want us to sit with as people that are experiencing disability or spooneyhood anew, as folks that are navigating this whole panorama, as people that are interested in unlearning, decolonizing ableism. What questions do you want us to sit with after this conversation?
I think I would love, and these are questions I always ask myself, and my peers like yourself, my mentors and colleagues ask me. So I'm only bouncing back. We're just an echo, no? Like, what do you do with all this information now, right? What do you do with everything you've learned and everything your body, mind, because they're interconnected, is facing? Like, I just want you to consider that if you're denying pain, right, you're denying new ways of love. You're denying a new way to communicate, right? And I don't know, I think that something to consider, I think you've mentioned as grief as an entry point, but what would a world look like where you don't have to feel shame and you don't have to feel like you're the only, and you don't have to feel alienated, and in a world where you're not invisible, right? We're dreaming bigger. If we want to cite other sick and disabled, people, global majority, BIPOC, queer, trans people, there have been so many, and countless people. And sometimes those people are overshadowed. But disability and sickness was a part of not just their analysis, but the way they did care work. If you're going to talk about Star and Marsha P, you have to talk about how they took care of one another when they were sick and advocated for one another in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can't separate those things. So just engage your full self. And what would it be like to engage your full self in all of its nuance and complexity and not have to whisper it, right?
Right.
I have gigs like this all the time where somebody's like, so yeah, I just, I have this chronic pain. I'm so glad. And I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Like, what about us are told? Why are we told to hide? And why are we told to bootstrap? That's the colonial shit. That's white supremacy controlling our bodies. That's eugenics, right? If you want to get into theory, and Patty Byrne taught me so much about eugenics and theory as a eugenics specialist. Just like, wow, the way they want to control our bodies, the way they want to be anti-Black or be fat phobic, right? Or demonstrate what is too crazy, quote unquote, is through eugenics. It's so that white people can utilize our labor for enslavement and or for cheap labor. So if you know that you not listening to your pain is connected to that, so you can perform for whiteness and for straight people and these basic standards, then you know that denying yourself this pain is only gonna implode on you. So revel in the pain, spoon out with your loved ones, text your beloveds, have people send you food, send food when you have money, show up first and foremost for Black, Indigenous, people of color first, show up for trans women, non-binary, femme folk, show up for migrant and undocumented people. For me, those politics aren't just politics. It's like, it's not just about you and your singular pain. I remember being a baby gay and being like, oh, it's about my gay ways. And it's just like, wow, there's a whole culture beyond me of queer Asians and trans BIPOC, right? And I'm letting you know sickness and disability is honestly integral in that process. We are not alone. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. We are part of a larger universal cycle of multiple verses like, welcome. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. The state is terrifying.
Yeah.
But you are wonderful.
Oh, you are too.
You're my
Y'all,
favorite.
It's really real. We have spent the last 6 years sending each other the same $15 for boba. I'm pretty sure there's a way for us to actually track the amount of times we've spent the same amount of money just back and forth. And I know I wouldn't be sitting here in front of all these lovely people if it weren't for you. You were essential in my arrival in this community, and you are essential in keeping me alive. And I love you. And that's it from me.
Hey.
Are you coming back up here? Yes. Look at this magical being make their way to the stage. This is amazing. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Giving a round of applause again for this amazing being. And Kay, thank you so much. I'm just yelling at the camera. I just said, can we give some love to this incredible being, and to Kay, thank you so much. I just like like a love shower. I feel like of knowledge and care and wisdom, and just like like who's sick? Like yeah, but but we want to do a land acknowledgement. I could not pull up my phone because spoons. And thank you so much. Thank you. Gonna try. So we want to both honor the land that we're on, and also so we're going to read a land acknowledgement that has been asked for, and also I'm going to ask that we not just read, I won't just read this, but I'm going to ask, we also take some action after. So a land acknowledgement. The following is our standard land acknowledgement for those who seek to honor the people and territory preceding an event of Lenape-Hoking. The land upon which we gather is part of a traditional territory of the Lenape, the Lenni Lenape, called Lenape-Hoking. Lenape people lived in harmony with one another upon this territory for thousands of years. During the colonial era and early federal period, many were removed west and north, but some also remain among the continuing historical tribe communities in the region. Can you pronounce these? Thank you.
I'm going to do my very best. Actually, we can go right here. We acknowledge the Lenni Lenape as the original people of this land and their continuing relationship with their territory. In our acknowledgement of the continued presence of the Lenape people in their homeland, we affirm the aspiration of the great Lenape chief, Tamanent, that there be harmony between indigenous peoples of this land and the descendants of the immigrants to this land, as long as the rivers and creeks flow and the sun, moon, and stars shine.
Thank you. And I'm going to ask that we know that in North Brooklyn, there's a pipeline that people are trying to build. And so if you don't know about the North Brooklyn pipeline, I encourage you to look it up and get involved. And also you can join, there's is it National Grid strike, where people are withholding money that the National Grid is trying to spend on building this pipeline. So that's right here, and supporting Line 3 and water protectors, and so acknowledging. And so if there's something that you go on to do, like Kay and Blaine's conversation just now, that this work of care extends, is both our personal work and is our community work, and it happens on so many different intersecting levels at all times. So we just thank you, and thank you to the Indigenous people. Thank you. And to crawl off. So you might be wondering, like, where are we crawling to? So how this show, just off. And so how this show came to be is that six friends who became spoonie friends. Oh, I realized maybe some people don't know what a spoonie is. I didn't know until I became one, literally. Oh yeah, spoonsy. I'm a spoonsy. Okay. What is a spoonie? So it is a term. So in the chronic illness, disability community, spooniness or spoons is a way to describe and talk about the amount of energy or capacity a person might have. It's a way to kind of talk about it so it's not as abstract, even though maybe, no, it's not abstract, it's real. And so so some people might say, a lot of the awareness of becoming chronically ill and disabled is a new awareness of how much you can and how much is available to you that day or that week and what's not available to you. And so this awareness of what you can and can't do, and a way to communicate it with yourself and to others. So sometimes I'll be like, oh, I only have 3 spoons today. I have a lot to do. So no social media because I don't have spoons for that and everything I might require. And, oh no, I'll keep it. I keep it. Or it's just a way for me to be like, oh no, actually today I have this many spoons, or like I saw my friends today and actually that took a spoon from me. And and then spoonies is a sweet term that people call each other or ourselves as a way to like acknowledge what we're going through in a cuddly. I find it cuddly. I don't know. And it was a term that was originally spoon theory was by Christine, who's a lupus survivor, and and am I right? And so thank you for giving us this gift of like, again, Kay and Blinn. I'm just gonna keep referencing whoever was right before. I'll just reference that. Like they were talking about, we're creating new language and we share it with each other because never one of us holds all the answers. And so next up, we're gonna share a person who is actually a person who does have all the answers for me. I don't know how, but she does know everything. And it's like, what? How do you know this much? How do you read this much? I know you're sick in bed all the time. And she knows all the things. So I want to welcome up one of my dearest spoonie friends, Holly. Come to the stage. Ah.
Thank you, Una. Thank you, Una. And thank you, Belen and Kay. I don't know how to follow that conversation truly. The grief and the gift is something that those words of yours, Belen, will stick with me for a very, very long time. It's very emotional to be here with you all. And when the storm rolled in today, I was not surprised that we figured out how to navigate it, because we've been doing it together all year. This is about the grief and the gift. No summer skin by August. Now the sun makes you sick. Usually March anticipates the summer, the time of year to hike through Platte Clove, the cliff jumpers at the swimming hole. None of that now, but how could we have known? This year, in bed, March is out your window. You watch through your phone as the NYPD kettle your friends, leave everyone on red. There's a small stamp shop on 13th Street. Before, an older Welsh man would nap in the back, while the sign reads, open when here, closed when not. Medical institutions do not diagnose you with COVID-19 in March of 2020. There is no such thing as the availability of the test. Instead, you remain suspected without proof. A year suggests a physician on the edge of autonomic crisis, like knocking a full glass of water, watching it drip down the coffee table, pool onto the floor, without proof. You watch a chipmunk ambush a bird's nest in a crabapple tree outside. Feathers everywhere. That's how it felt, you know? Like a vascular coup d'etat, something else seizing control. Along the trunk of the crabapple, tree rot. You wonder as you stare, were you too carved out by a virus? The Welsh man at the 13th Street shop sells an anatomical illustration of a heart on a stamp. A small wooden block with a rubber imprint about the size of the Zio patch. That's a tongue twister. You wore on your chest last month, recording the waves of early beats and nothing to be too concerned about. Nothing to be too concerned about. Have you ever felt such determination to not let something crush you? Fatigue, ineffable, a temptress, a perfidious lover, an abyss. A steep jump into a body of water, several seconds after a cannonball, living just there, off the precipice and fully submerged, an environment that cannot sustain human life, vulnerable and suspended. In that split-second doubt that you've gone too deep, that you can't break surface. Thank you.
Yes, I'm just going to sit close. Can we please give it up again for Hallie? She knows everything and feels everything. Thank you so much for sharing your beauty with us. Um, we're so grateful. Next, we have two poets coming to the virtual stage. Amazing human spoonies, chronically ill disabled artists, curators, and we have Ezra and Danilo coming to the stage from their home, I believe. Stand by and welcome them. Here they come. Stage, amazing human spoonies, chronically ill disabled artists, That sounded like me. It was me. It was me. I'm not sure if I'm still on or they're ready. Okay, welcome. We're so glad you're here. Thank you. Thank you. Come on up. Take it away.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome from our salon.
Okay, let's maybe start with some image descriptions or self-descriptions, and then we'll move into the image descriptions and poetry. So I'll start. My name is Ezra Bennis. I use he and they pronouns. I am with Danilo, one of my roommates in Brooklyn on Lenape land. We're sitting in my studio / office. I am a dark-haired, curly top, white person with some scruff on my face. I'm wearing a light blue and dark blue tie-dye shirt with an image of illustrated image of Spike and Drusilla from the show Buffy, and I'm wearing a gold pendant necklace that I just got at the Church Bazaar sale across the street today. I am wearing purple pants and sitting on a pink chaise lounge. We're in a kind of darkened room with a table to my left and with a lava lamp in the middle, 2 glasses on it, and we have a plant behind this with 3 photographic prints right behind us, and I'll let Danilo share and describe whatever else you want to share.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Danilo Machado. I also use he and they pronouns. And I am sitting on a blue rocking chair in Ezra's studio, wearing a dress with big pink polka dots and a yellow handkerchief around my neck. I am a brown queer person with black hair and glasses and scruff, and very visible on Ezra's chaise lounge, which we sometimes called Shay, is Reggie, Ezra's puppy and collaborator.
Hey, so today we have 3 poems that we are going to read. We made these collaboratively, and to give some context about these poems, the titles of each poem was the inspiration for each, and the titles were taken from photographs that I took from my time in the hospital at different points over the last year and a half, getting my pretty regular infusions. This body of work is something that I think about as a way for me to both document myself through these intimate processes of being cared for, while also kind of navigating the private versus public nature of the experience of illness and disability, and kind of trying to erase those lines that are really often forced upon us. And so we actually put up each print on the on our wall over here, and these are all 3 risograph prints of them, and they're all in 2-tone purple and blue. So what we're going to do is first read the image description of one of the prints, And then we're going to move into the poem read once, and then it'll be read a second time by either one of us, and then we'll do the same for each one. Is there any more context you want to share about these works and about what you feel about them and how they resonate to also bringing it to this event?
Yeah, totally. So I first come across the images on your Instagram, where there, three of many other works where, as you describe, you're documenting, you're sharing this experience, this regular experience in medicalized context, which I also shared. The images were very familiar to me, as someone whose veins are also pricked and prodded fairly regularly. And so I was interested in them as images, and also like as images in a lineage of disabled artists documenting and showing their experience in medicalized spaces, particularly thinking about Carolyn Lazard's series where they're documenting what they're reading at the hospital in a similarly public way. And so, I connected to them as a person, and also as a person that shares space and home with Ezra and with Ruggie. And recently, I curated an exhibition at EFA Project Space in New York, where Ezra was one of the artist fellows. And so, as we were talking about the work and the paintings that you're working on, and the sort of new sculpture you're working on, I was interested in including this series, which you hadn't exhibited before, and doing this sort of like translation between the digital and the physical and tangible. So it was really exciting to me to have sort of these same photos, which previously existed like just online, were taken with their iPhone, just on Instagram, and to not only sort of print them as sort of these like plexi images for the wall, but also to have them as RISO prints, because EFA also has RISO studio, and this is your first time working with RISO. Yeah, it's the first time working with RISO, so that was really exciting. And also they were takeaways in the exhibition. We love a takeaway. We love, walking out of an art experience with a gift, and with a piece of art. And so Ezra made an edition of each of these images, and folks throughout the run of the exhibition were able to take these prints away. My set are at the Flamers. I'm very excited to have them in my office space shortly, and excited that they were the launching point for these new poems.
Yeah, that's great. And we are really excited that we got to share space with all of the amazing performers and the care workers that were lined up for this event. Obviously this series is also looking to the relationship of care, relationships of care, and the ways in which, the touch is so important in those aspects, but can also be a site of violence as well. And so I think in any work that is dealing with illness in a sort of medicalized procedural documentation process, I do want to just give some content warning for those who might not feel super comfortable, looking at the work, because I'm going to ask just for you to take it and show it closer to the screen as I read the image description. But I do encourage everyone to, at least listen to the poetry, to the ruminations on those experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to start with a piece titled "All Hands on Deck, Rock On." Yeah. It's just a piece of tape on there. Yeah. Okay. It's the image description goes as follows. 2 sets of nurses' hands in purple gloves are concentrated over the middle of Ezra's left arm, colored in blue, attempting to redo the insertion of the needle for their infusion. The bottom leftmost hand is posed like the rock and roll symbol, the thumb pointer and pinky outwards, and the middle fingers tucked in. Okay. All hands on deck, rock on. Tubes tangled for gateways opening up, rushing and crushed, clenched, comfort in latex, free barriers, submission, prescription. So which is the lucky arm for you today? Purple, nitrile, powdery, confection, taking in my flesh and my fluid, finding a route, punctured once, flecks of red, rise in resistance, twice if tired, 3 times, dehydrated. Now I'm going to flush. Calling for all hands on deck. You okay?
Thank you. And also to share another piece, these poems are all in a form that I've been playing around with. They're each 10 lines, and each line is 10 syllables. And so they're not directly about the form, but that's sort of like the vessel that we were sort of playing in with these. So they're also sort of have the symmetry, like the risos are, all on the same size paper, and so the poems are all the same length. In that way. All hands on deck / rock on. Tubes tangled for gateways opening up, rushing and crushed, clenched comfort in latex, free barriers, submission, prescription. So which is a lucky arm for you today? Purple, nitrile, powdery confection, taking in my flesh and my fluid, finding a route, punctured once, flecks of red, rise in resistance, twice if tired, 3 times, dehydrated, now I'm going to flush, calling for all hands on deck, you okay? Great. So I'll read the image description for this next work, which is called Hold, parentheses for me. Focus of the image is of a nurse's hands in purple gloves, concentrated over the middle of Ezra's outstretched arm, left arm ending in a fist, colored purple. One of the nurse's hand is holding Ezra's arm, while the other is inserting the needle for his infusion. The purple tourniquet is wrapped in a bow, like a ribbon on a wrapped present. Hold for me. Music plays and your call is important to us. Please hold for the next available representative. Symbol of, symptom of, symbol of, and what isn't? Do this parenthetical for me as I do this parenthetical for you. Has anyone told you you have good veins? Small pinch, flush and draw, colored vials, count, gloves, love, hold, please pause, for pause, please pause for, pause for, purple nitrile, tide, pressure, ribbon, bow.
Hold for me. Music plays and your call is important to us. Please hold for the next available representative. Representative, symptom, of, symbol, of, and what isn't? Do this parenthetical for me as I do this parenthetical for you. Has anyone told you you have good veins? Small pinch, flush and draw, colored vials count. Loved, love, hold, like please. Pause for like, pause for. Purple, nitrile, tide, pressure, ribbon, bow.
So this one we wrote sort of going back and forth together. So that's how we'll read it. Do you want to read the image description?
Sure. Me, you, or does it become us? The image is in tones of blue and purple. On the left side of the composition is a ruffled sleeve of a nurse wearing a metallic banded watch and a purple latex glove, resting fingers on a metallic pan or tray that has 4 vials of Ezra's blood resting on the far right corner. The wall behind shows a pattern curtain that is grazing the top right side of the image. Me, you, or does it become us?
Good question. Answer is, of course it does.
Pointed on the steel surface, cold fingers.
Resting gloved, all ready for give and take.
Staring back at me in specked rubber.
Bound, bespeckled, reflective, shining, thick.
Patient and doting, waiting and holding.
Green gown, protective, labeled specimen.
Wearing your watch, but not looking, ticking.
Counting counts, contained and measured levels.
And I still do wonder, who waits for you?
Should we read it again?
Yeah, we'll read it one more time.
Me/you, or does it become us?
Good question. Answer is, of course it does.
Pointed on the steel surface, cold fingers.
Resting, gloved, all ready for give and take.
Staring back at me in speckled rubber.
Bounce, bespeckled, reflective, shining, thick.
Patient and doting, waiting and holding.
Green gown, protective, labeled specimen.
Wearing your watch, but not looking, ticking.
Counting, counts, contained and measured levels.
And I still do wonder, who waits for you? Wow. Thank you. Do you want to? I'm curious about what that experience was like for you, like writing. You said this was like your first poetry assignment in a while.
Yeah, Danilo gave me a poetry assignment for this.
Oh my
Really
God,
like
sharing
that.
with us. We're so grateful to you both. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to keep the show rolling. We're so excited to welcome up next another spoonie long hauler. Anna is coming to the stage. Yeah.
From their home.
You said go, so here we are. Okay, I'm going to scoot over. And okay, here you go. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I just want to take the moment to thank Brandon Kaysen Maddox, who's been providing ASL for us and was also just so game when I was like, it might rain, come to this place. And then I gave them the wrong address and they were like, it's okay, I'll be there. So just one more round of applause. It's so nice to have you here and have you part of this. All right. Just gonna read a short bit of writing I wrote last year when I thought I would get better. I realize now that I missed the chance to try to do the same exercise a year later, but that sounds about right. So the exercise was that I wanted to try to sing even though I was felt like a very difficult thing to do. So I will just read a few a few of these journal entries. September 2nd, 2020. Just went on a night walk. No stars tonight here, quite cloudy and brain too. Walked down the drive in the middle of the woods and turned the flashlight off. Sang one of the old songs I've been learning. I felt like I needed to give myself a lullaby or something. There are so many crickets and cicadas in the forest. The sound so high-pitched, it feels like it's above my head, just circling around me. A layer sound like ascending. Song sound goes out in the darkness, all surrounded. September 3rd, sang again in the night. My body felt more feverish, more like wanting to breathe. I let my legs bend. I feel my battled chest. And when I sing the notes out, I'm not really listening to their sounds so much as I am listening to, or rather noticing how it feels to push something through. Noticing things that feel easy or rather open, or sometimes it sounds like relief, and sometimes thin notes that almost sound like my heartbeat is poking them. My heartbeat is so heavy as I am exerting this, and my voice feels so thin that my heartbeat is touching it. I can't imagine a steady sound, making something, but there are notes up high that feel possible outside of my speech. They are a relief, and a woman sound in the night, round and clear, and there is a low hum somewhere in the woods amidst all the insects, and the wind comes. September 4th. Sang again tonight, but in a small room in the basement. Getting through this old song is hard. I find my mind wandering, but there is something to be said about executing something, I guess, and making it to the end and knowing that I can enter it deeper if I have more energy ever. Like in my exhaustion, I can sing only the surface of something. My voice croaks like the key I chose is both too low and too high all at once, sounding like speech, and then I manage some notes. And now I am remembering something Aaron Copland wrote about listening, how the first note is enough to change a room. And with this 0 or 1 binary code of note making, my sound in this room is a triumphant 1, where for many, many months I have rarely uttered a noted sound. Here was a note flying out of my lips. I am alive, it turns out. September 5th, I sang from my bed tonight. Ever since this afternoon, with the exertion of trying to write, I have had a fever feeling all over my body. September 6th, I tried to sing tonight, and all I could do out under the stars was just weep and weep and weep. And I sat there rocking, trying to get through all the verses of Amazing Grace, and I couldn't. I couldn't get it out for crying. And so I just sang it on the inside, in my head, and sometimes getting words out of my mouth. Maybe if someone was there to listen, I could pull it together. The stars are bright tonight, and I sway. So I wanted to share a song that I just learned from my ancestors who come from the ones that come from Scotland and Ireland. For many, 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 many generations, they had a tradition of songs and of singers called keening. And these were a group of grieving songs and people who would come and help you grieve and sing the grieving songs if someone had passed. But in the spirit of what Belen was talking about earlier, I was imagining keening for some sort of, for all of our sick grief. So I don't speak the language that this song was in, so it'll be wordless. It's for those who cannot hear, it is, I guess I describe it as it's very high, and the melody just kind of goes up and down around a little tiny set of stairs. It just weaves in and out and up and down. And as you sing it, you kind of just try to find all the spaces in between the notes. And it sounds in between a cry and like a little lullaby is the sound description of this wordless song. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So we are nearing the end of our live performance show, and then we are going to move into video. So we have one more performer, but just to round up how we got here. So we are 6 friends, spoonie friends who found each other. We all got COVID in March of 2020, and we realized we had long COVID, and our sicknesses were continuing, not just stopping like everybody said they would, and continuing and continuing and continuing. And we found each other. Anna, Holly, and Jenna had started a Zoom group, and so we were meeting every day at 11 a.m. And just found each other. And so we've been with each other through sickness over these last 19 months, and we began dreaming up a way to bring other people together. A way for us, as Belinda and Kay were talking about, us new spoonies and old spoonies to be part, to see ourselves in the disability justice community. And so we dreamed this event up. It was going to be half in person, half online, and the weather god said all online today. And in the spring, we'll bring to you the in-person part again. And we hope that you'll continue to follow us. And we really want to thank Body Politic for having us and supporting us. And we have an amazing care team who also, we just want to thank them for their flexibility and care. And so excited to bring up our last performer of the live segment, another Spoonie love, Mel. Give it up for Mel. No. Yes. Okay. I'm just moving up.
Really bad. It's like really bad. It's like really bad. It's like really bad. It's like really bad. It's 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 really bad.
Please give it up again for Mel. Oh, that was really good, bad. um, so we just really, we hope that you all, we could feel us with you because we are with
Distance
you.
ritual.
And we are so grateful that you tuned in tonight and witnessed, and there is more to come. And we know, and we see you. And I just want to shout out all the spoonies in the world. Ah, ah, just, yeah. And also, I will, you know, spooniness, spoons have taken on a new meaning ever since the Palestinian people who were imprisoned literally used spoons to escape, like and freedom fighters. And so spoons have taken on a new meaning of liberation, in addition to the spooniness that we're all in. So we know that all of our struggles are connected, and we won't be free until capitalism is out of here. The cis heteropatriarchy is out of here, till imperialism is out of here, and we're all free. And yeah, so we really want to thank all the artists, and we have an amazing set of artists who've submitted videos tonight. We have Dan Fishback, Morgan Bassakis, Yo-Yo Lynn, Caroline Sheb. Great. I could see them and I just couldn't word them. We just really also want to thank the City Artists Corps grant who made this tonight possible. And also everybody who made this night possible, and all of the energies and spoons that we all put in to do this. We're so grateful that you're here. We love you. Please tune in. Keep the stream on, because we're about to see some amazing videos by gorgeous artists. And we thank you for being here. We love you. We're with you. Good night.
Distance rituals. Place, bodies of water. Find a spot in the direction of a body of water. Focus your attention to the horizon. Gaze with softness. Take a moment to notice the here and the now. Listen closely to where your body touches the earth. Feel the sensations on your skin. Let the water guide your thoughts. After you have noticed the here, take a moment to wonder what is beyond. Notice where your gaze cannot reach. When you are ready, imagine a thread growing out of you, across distant shores, stretching, extending to the beyond. Close your eyes. Ask yourself, what or who is this thread connected to? Take a moment to identify the other end of your thread. When you have identified it, focus on your connection to it. Notice the length of this thread, the distance it covers. Where is the thread connected to you on your body? With your hands, play with the thread. Is it meandering or is it tight? Does a force pull from the other side? Or are you pulling it towards you? Take a moment to explore your connection. When you're finished exploring the thread, decide what to do with the thread. End of score.
Hi, my name's Dan Fishback. This is a song for the Bedstock Challenge. I was challenged by Kimya Dawson to make this. Bedstock is people in bed singing songs for kids with chronic illnesses and disabilities that make it impossible to get out of theirs. I have chronic fatigue syndrome. I've had it for almost 9 years. There are days when I can get out of bed and there are days when I can't. And this is a song that I wrote very early on in that process of trying to figure out if today is a day that I'm gonna get out of bed or is today a day when I can't get out of bed. And I've tried making this video. This is maybe like my 7th time starting, and I'm committing that I'm just gonna keep going if I mess up this time, because I don't have the energy to keep starting over. And I'm sure that those of you for whom this video is for will understand what that's like on some level. You see, I had the urge to stop and start over again just now, and I'm muscling through. Okay. Yeah, okay. Sunday boy, in your little room, everyone is out loving. Monday boy, boy and angel, you imitation of nothing. Suddenly ugly feelings are struggling to keep you out of the sky. Though you might Thursday boy, it crawling on the floor, bones ajar like a flower. Friday boy, almost at the door. Who could have known this was power? Walk again, run again, lie in the sun again, between his lips, hide your side.